Jason Miller, senior advisor to President Donald Trump. Jason, it's always a pleasure to have you.
Great to be here.
You know, they continue to gaslight folks. In fact, at one point, Biden actually says he got the 9% inflation economy. We all know. I mean, it's all there. It was 1.4% when Trump left. They like to say they created jobs. These were jobs that were just coming back from COVID. They try to take this victory lap, but there's so much at the stake here now with Americans in so much pain and a real decision to make. And he just brushes it off, saying he's working hard. In fact, he actually had the nerve to say that he says there's corporate greed out there. What do you make of his statements?
Well, this is exactly why the Biden administration doesn't book him for many interviews, because he goes out there and says some pretty way off things. I mean, for all the talk about RFK Jr. and if he has a worm in his brain, I don't even know what Joe Biden has in his brain, because this is mind-numbingly stupid. So let's go ahead and unpack this for a moment here, because it's really disrespectful to everyone who's suffering under a Biden economy and everyone who's struggling on a month-by-month basis. Under Joe Biden, at the beginning, when President Trump left office, it was a 1.4% inflation. Now you look at cumulative inflation over the entire time Biden's been in office, it's up right around 20%. Some things, whether it be electricity, a number of other things, are up more like 30% increase. Mortgages, home mortgage payments are on average 90% more expensive under Joe Biden, and 2/3 of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. So when Biden says, like he did in that interview, that people have the money in their pocket, well, they don't. And this is why your numbers are in the toilet.
They are. And when he says we're working hard, maybe the work they're doing is just continuing to dismantle the American dream, and people are noticing. Want to get your reaction. Let's play a little bit of Senator Rick Scott, who was in New York today talking about lawfare, supporting Donald Trump. Let's play this.
Look, we know that President Biden can't win this election fair and square. He has nothing to run on. And we know President Trump has a record. He secured the border. He had a great economy where we weren't at war. So that's why this is happening. Joe Biden knows and Democrats know that he cannot win.
What can he run on? It's not the economy. We know there's a big push right now to make sure that illegals aren't able to vote. We'll get into that in just a moment here. Your reaction to Rick Scott and his comments today, so clear, so concise, and so behind Donald Trump.
Yeah, and I think Senator Scott is spot on here, because Joe Biden cannot run on inflation. He cannot run on illegal immigration, Biden migrant crime, or the chaos caused at the southern border in Ukraine or in the Middle East. Everything is going wrong for Joe Biden. So the Democrats, they have come up with this genius idea that they're going to make protecting democracy, which is really just a vehicle for gaslighting and misinformation and disinformation to the American public. But this protecting democracy, which is lawfare and weaponizing the judicial system against President Trump, is their number one issue. Well, unfortunately, polling that came out in this past week shows President Trump and Joe Biden are tied on the issue of protecting democracy. Here's why. People see right through this. They see the way that it's all become politicized, the way that the legal system is now weaponized against political opponents, and people say that's ridiculous. Run on the issues.
Run on the issues. Hey, speaking of getting involved in politics, and this was a little bit of a nugget we'd like to get you to react to, the reports that Barron Trump, we know he's just turned 18 in March. He'll be graduating next week. Donald Trump will be able to attend that graduation, but he is picked to be a delegate at the Republican National Convention. You know Barron. Give us a sense on what his political aspirations may be. And we know it's somewhat of a family affair down here in Florida. A lot of support for Donald Trump and the delegates as well.
Well, I think it's pretty cool that Barron's doing this. He's very interested in politics and especially wants to be supportive of his father now that he's old enough to vote and really participate in the process. And quite frankly, the whole family is very active. You see President Trump's adult children on the campaign trail all the time supporting him and helping to raise money and do different things. But Barron, obviously being the youngest of the Trump family, I think it's pretty cool that he's out there and showing that people who are young should be getting active in politics. We want people to get off the sidelines and go into it with the mind of how do we go and make this country great again, and I think Barron's doing just that.
Jason Miller, advisor to Donald Trump, with us with reaction to what we're seeing outside the courthouse and also the latest on the trail, which we know Donald Trump will be on in New Jersey. Big rally planned this weekend. Jason, thank you so much for your time. Come back real soon.